Hello, beautiful people. Today is 19th of June. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll take a quote from the great revolutionary, the leader who reignited the Indian nationalism, the Bhagat Singh. He says, bombs and pistols do not make a revolution. The sword of revolution is sharpened on the whetting stone of ideas. Now, friends, into the present charged atmosphere of the right wing extremism on one hand and left wing extremism on the other hand, this particular message becomes very much relevant because often liberalism is discarded as something shallow and hollow. Scholars talking about liberal ideas are called as armchair intellectuals. But, friends, the ideas are the ones which provide the soul to the machinery of revolution. So, guys, please remember this particular quote for our GS paper number 1, social issues, as well as for the paper on essay. Now, guys, this was the main question that I gave you yesterday. The concept of the welfare state reflected in DPSP is the derivation of ideals enshrined into the preamble. Now, first of all, as I say, you need to divide your answer in three distinct parts, that is intro, body, and conclusion. Now, guys, this question is very straightforward, and now these type of questions are coming into the GS2 paper. See, into the preamble, there are ideas such as justice, liberty, equity, fraternity, and integrity, moreover, secularism. And such kind of things, the ideas for the justice, liberty, equality are also given into the DPSPs. For example, article number 39, 39A, article number 30, 41, 47. So simply, you need to take the ideas one by one. For example, take the idea of justice and talk as how equal pay for equal work will be bringing the justice. After that, for example, free legal aid is to be given to the poor, how that will be bringing to the justice. Now, guys, for into the direction of free legal aid, we had also constituted National Legal Service Authorities Act. And friends, this NLSA is a case study where the DPSP was converted into one of the ideal that was given into the preamble. One more example you want, we can discuss the article number 41, which talks about the maternity relief, and that maternity relief is nothing but an emancipation of the idea of justice. And by passing the maternity benefit act, what we have done, again we had converted the ideal of a preamble into a law which was also mentioned into the DPSP. So it is also an example or a type of a case study here. So, guys, in this particular way there could be many. Please select any 3 4 for one idea, one particular act, and in this way you will be writing the answer. Moreover, guys, if you have any problem with respect to anything, any issue that you are facing, please feel free to reach me at Sahil Thinking Palette into the Telegram. I will be responding you as soon as I'll receive your message. Please don't shy away. Moreover, guys, thank you so much for the heartwarming messages that you've sent me yesterday. It is really heart melting to see such support, and I'm really grateful to all of you, and again thank you so much. And now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Now first let's take up the brief overview. So, guys, first here we can see that India has won the seat into the Security Council. So we'll see here what is given. Then the clashes between India and China are going on, so briefly we'll see the escalation. Then, guys, moving forward, you can see that nothing has been given, only COVID and regional news are there. So, guys, the rapid antigen testing has been started, so we will see certain issues. Then moving forward, again, guys, regional news, not important anything with respect to the exam. Then, guys, we are into the editorial section. The first editorial talks about the UNSC. So, guys, we'll see the issues here. After that, Galwan postscript. Guys, the substance is not there into the article, only generalistic things have been given. Rather, I'll highly recommend that please see yesterday's article on India China strategy. Very good article. After that, guys, here we'll see the mediation into the age of COVID 19. Good article. Now, guys, here in this article, it has been mentioned that government is increasing the price, but we know that there is only one implication, that whenever the price will be increased, the transportation will become expensive, and the ultimate burn will be borne by the customers. So, guys, this is given here. After that, we'll see that can India escape the Chinese manufacturing? Good article, will be seeing it. Then moving forward. So, guys, here only the continuation from page number 1 has been given. Will already taken it. Then, so, guys, a new scheme has been started by government for the migrants. We'll see the issue. After that, RIC meet has been mentioned. We'll see this thing. Then moving forward, the mobile lab, iLab has been given. We'll see that what all is all issue here. After that, guys, we are on to the showcase, not important for our exam. Then moving forward. Now, guys, on to the world page also, the protest, COVID, etc. has been given, not usable for the exam. Onto the business also, much corporate news have been given, so we will not be able to use it for the exam. And finally, onto the last page, the megalithic burial site has been mentioned. We'll see this thing. And now let's have the detailed analysis of the newspaper. Now, friends, into the first news item, we can see that India had won the non permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. And on that particular thing, there are lot of news items into the today's newspaper. So we will club them together and we'll see holistically that what has been achieved. So here I'm taking a news item from page number 1, page number 8, and from the editorial section. Now, guys, taking the matters from the basic. See, after the World War One, there was an immediate need that the world peace should be preserved. And for that particular thing, League of Nations was proposed by the USA and was formed. However, USA itself did not join the League of Nations, and ultimately League of Nations becomes ineffective, and the World War Two came into picture. So now, as World War Two was near its end, at that point of time, it was again thought that why shouldn't we make another organization for the international peace? And therefore, guys, the idea of United Nations came. So finally, in 1944, into the Dumbarton Oaks Conference, the idea was formalized by the Big Four, and these Big Four are the USA, Russia, China, and UK. And after that, in 1945, the UN Charter was prepared, which actually defined the objective, goal, and motto of the United Nations. However, friends, into the same year, that is 1944, IMF was also formed at the Bretton Woods Conference. Now, guys, IMF is associated with UN, but it maintains its independence also. Please keep this thing in your mind because such kind of things have been asked. Now, guys, moving forward. So, UN was made, and now, into the main course of time, six principal organs of the United Nations came into existence. And today we are talking about the United Nations Security Council, which is one of the six organs. So further, it is headquartered at New York, and its objectives are to ensuring international peace and security. Now, friends, it also takes other crucial decisions such as admitting the members into the United Nations General Assembly. Now, this particular body has 15 members. 5 are the permanent, which are called as P5, and 10 other are the non-permanent members. So what has happened, India had got elected here into the non-permanent member, though from very long India wants to take a seat into the permanent structure and wants to reform this entire setup. However, a crucial support is needed from the existing P5 members, and because of that particular thing, change is not coming. If you remember, yesterday we had seen that only babies with wet nappies delightfully accept the change. Now here P5, while they'll unnecessarily dilute their power, so they'll not ready to bring the any other members into the P5. So for time being, India has been admitted into the non-permanent, for which elections were held recently on 18th June. Now, guys, in order to get elected, a country needs minimum 2 by third of the votes from the 193 UN members, and India had performed really good and had got 184 votes among the total 193, which is very much impressive. By the way, India also stood unopposed. There was no other contender for the Asia Pacific region for which India is representing. Guys, moreover, talking about the election, I told you 2 by third seats are needed. So guys, for Africa also two countries were contesting, that is Djibouti and Kenya, and neither of them were able to get the two-third of the vote. So for them there will be another round of elections. And apart from the India, other countries which got also admitted into the non-permanent seat are the Mexico, Norway, and Ireland. Now coming back to India, so this is the eighth time that India had won a seat into the non-permanent member. Now, as India has been elected, what could be the strategies or what could be the prescriptions for India into the times to come? So, guys, earlier India issued its manifesto, that is the norms, which stands for a new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. So, it is very clear that India is bidding for reforming the world order. And, guys, here India has three main objectives. Number one, winning the support for comprehensive convention on international terrorism. Guys, if I tell you, then terrorism is the biggest problem right now, but there is no comprehensive treaty for the terrorism. There are 13 sectoral arrangements, but no comprehensive treaty. So, in 1996, India proposed that world countries should agree on a comprehensive treaty, but has not been signed yet. So, first, India will propose that this thing could come. Secondly, into the world order, Permanent 5 of the United Nations Security Council, they had created a kind of a hegemony. So India wants that the structure of the United Nations Security Council should be reformed, as the 21st century world realities are not being reflected by the membership. The countries of Africa, Asia should be given more member representation here. So this is the second pillar. And on to the third pillar, India wants to emerge as a leader of the developing world and wants to be seen as a responsible power which represents the voice of the weaker nations. Now, guys, as we are right now seeing that the rivalries between the USA and China are increasing, and both the countries are exiting the multilateral institutions into the times to come, there could be a probability that the entire multilateral order will collapse. So it is also India's responsibility that how the credibility of multilateral bodies such as WHO, UNSC, and all such needs to be maintained. So, guys, there are very big stakes on India, and therefore India needs to very carefully craft its diplomacy and the foreign policy as how all these goals can be accommodated. So, guys, that's all, and into the times to come we'll see more onto this particular issue. But if you are writing anything on this, so all these norms, objectives, strategies should be reflected. So that's all, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here's a brief update with respect to the India China clash that is going on. So, into the aftermath of the clash at Galwan Valley, 10 Indian soldiers were arrested by the Chinese and now they have been released after the third round Major General level talks. Now, friends, into the news item, the 1996 agreement between India and China on confidence building measures into the military field along LAC has been mentioned. Now, guys, according to this particular agreement, Article number 6, it has been said that none of the sides will open fire or cause biodegradation or use the hazardous chemicals or cannot conduct any blast operation explosive within the 2 kilometer range. Now, guys, on one hand, it is being said that Article number 6 of 1996 has been violated because self restraint was not carried. Whereas on the other hand, it is being said that it has not been violated because no firing was taken place here. However, anyhow, the incident is to be condemned outright onto the teeth. However, we'll not go deeper into the day-to-day developments, and that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here the Central Vista plan has been mentioned. By the way, you might have heard that government is planning the redevelopment model around the Rajpath. Friends, if you don't know, here's the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and here there's the India Gate, and in between there's a near 3 kilometer stretch which is entirely to be developed, where the new prime minister's residence will be made, new prime minister's office will be made, new parliament house will be made, old parliament will be converted into the museum, and then there will be the central secretariat buildings on both the sides of the Rajpath lane. Now, guys, first of all, this entire project has attracted large criticism because on the one hand government says that they don't have revenue to fight the COVID-19, and on other hand such massive investment is being made. However, in this particular news item, the plantation strategy has been mentioned. So briefly we'll just see. Now, if you have been to this region, then you might have observed that onto the both sides of this Rajpath lane, there are large number of trees. Now, originally, these trees were planted into a diagonal manner. into 1920s when the area was being developed. However, into the recent years, this diagonal pattern has been disturbed, and into the haphazard manner, the trees have been planted. So, guys, now as the area is needed to be redeveloped, it is being said that original plan should be restored as it will make area more aesthetically beautiful. But we all are forgetting one issue, that into the name of aesthetic beauty, we are undermining the ecological utility of the existing trees. Now, guys, into the redevelopment, either these existing trees will be transplanted or they will be chopped off. And in both of these circumstances, the survival rate of the old trees will get drastically down. And guys, they serve a large ecological utility which also be lost if the redevelopment will be carried. And all this thing is happening into the name of urban planning into the city, which happens to be worst polluted amongst the major cities of the world. Therefore, one important case study that we can derive from here is that urban planning should not undermine the ecological relevance of the green cover and the tree cover that is equally important for the sustenance of a city. So, guys, as I have said, we can use this particular thing as an example. So, that's all. Now we'll move to next. So now as India is moving towards the peaking of COVID-19, right now even large number of testing is to be carried. So therefore in this particular direction in Delhi, rapid antigen testing is going to start, and for that particular thing dedicated centers have also been made. Now, friends, this antigen testing, the detailed discussion we had already taken into the 16th June. However, we'll briefly revise it. Now, guys, in India at present, we have a three standard test for COVID 19. The first one is a quick COVID 19, the second is the traditional RT PCR test, and the third one is the rapid antibody test. And with respect to their statuses, RT PCR is being carried. We started in between the rapid antibody test, but it was discontinued because the testing kits showed large number of errors. And now the latest this test has also started. As recently, this quick COVID test has got the recommendation from the ICMR also. Now, guys, one by one, if we see the differences, then into the quick COVID 19 test, we will take the nasal swab sample. In RT-PCR also, the sample from the nasal swab is taken, whereas rapid antibody test takes the blood sample. Further, guys, how the test works. Into the quick COVID, we will see that into the swab whether the antigen or the pathological substance which causes the disease is present or not. So therefore it is not that much complex and the results can come into 30 minutes only. Whereas in RT-PCR also, though we take the nasal swab, but here we see that whether the RNA is present, then this RNA is converted into the DNA, then this DNA is converted into the multiple copies, and then the ascertainment is carried. So it takes nearly 24 to 48 hours. And guys, into the rapid antibody test, we simply take the blood sample, and there we see that antibodies have developed or not, because antibodies will only be there if a person has been infected. This test can also be conducted within 30 minutes, but there is also the great possibility of error, guys, because the antibodies might not develop if the test is carried too early, and secondly antibodies will still be there when the person is recovered, so it can't tell whether right now person is infected or not. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks about the mediation as an alternative justice remedy. Now, guys, before going into the editorial, there are often two terminologies. One is arbitration and other is mediation. See, arbitration means that two parties will be coming to a third neutral arbitrator who will hear the appeals of both and will give a decision on his own reasoning. And, guys, his decision will be binding on both the parties. Whereas mediation is another kind of dispute redressal mechanism where the two parties will be coming to a third mediator. He will listen to both of their views, and the decision will be only that which will mutually be agreed to both the parties. So crucially here you can see that the both parties consent is very much necessary, whereas it is not necessary into the arbitration. So now Coming back to the article, see, it is being said that justice is needed to be given, but courtrooms are now suspended because of the lockdown and because of the social distancing norms. So therefore it is being said that the idea of online or virtual mediation should be explored. Now, friends, before going into the virtual mediation, a natural question will arise as why the mainstream virtual judiciary or the mainstream virtual courtroom is not being explored, and why we are talking about the virtual mediation. The answer is very simple. See, friends, into the virtual courtroom, you need a large number of stakeholders. You need the parties, you need the judge, then you need the advocate from both the parties, and then there is also the need of the audiences, because they also make that justice is being done into the transparent manner by abiding the fair rule of law. But into the mediation, we don't need such many parties. We just need a mediator and two parties, and therefore it is easily to be managed. After that, guys, in India, judiciary is so much overburdened, and judiciary itself purports that the alternative dispute resolution measures should be explored, and under these alternate measures, mediation happens to be an important one. And guys, even there is legislative backing to the mediation. For example, under the Industrial Disputes Act 1947, clearly the role of mediator has been provided. Moreover, into the Code of Civil Procedure, which was amended in 2002, again the role of mediator has a here also provided. Apart from them, even there are other advantages also of mediation. See, into the normal judicial dispensation, what happens, there is a binary, either you will win or you will lose. But here a mutual decision comes where there is something for both the parties. There is not extreme victory or extreme defeat. Therefore it is much more accommodating and it is much more justiciable. And guys, as in mediation, the decision comes through the consensus of both the parties. It there is also more chances that it will be everlasting, and both the parties will be abiding to the decision taken. And finally, when the virtual mediation will be explored, then the parties situated thousands of kilometers away can come together just by the click of a button. And as into the post pandemic world, the people are more accepting the ideas of video conferencing and virtual meets. So, therefore, giving acceptance to the virtual mediation will also be easy. However, at the same time, there are certain issues which are also needed to be addressed. For example, there are the technical glitches which might erupt and might hinder the seamless mediation process which is going on. Secondly, we also need to ramp up the cyber security, because the confidentiality is most important into the mediation. And after that, there is a lack of intimacy or directness into the virtual mode of mediation. And guys, the mutually agreed decision can only be taken when there is a kind of a connecting bond, and it lacks here. And finally, the underprivileged and poor strata will be excluded from the virtual mediation, as they don't have technical avenues, fast internet speed, and expertise to access such media of justice. So, friends, all these are the issues concerning this particular alternative dispute redressal mechanism. I hope you have understood this, and now we'll move to next. Friends, in this article, we will explore India's dependence on Chinese manufactured goods. Now, recently you had seen that people are becoming more vocal for local because of two things. First of all, clarion call was given by the Prime Minister into the favor of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, because we had seen acute shortage of critical supplies into the wake of COVID-19. And secondly, due to the ongoing clashes onto the LAC sector, now people are resorting that they should use the power of their wallet against the bullet and should boycott the Chinese goods. Now, for the purpose of oratory, these things sound very good, but we need to analyze that actually, on to the practical consideration, is it possible or not? Now, into the context of possibility, everybody says that it is possible we can use our Make in India campaign that was started in 2014. However, guys, before going into Make in India, let's first of all see that how much is India's dependence on China. First of all, there is nearly total dependence with respect to the capital goods, machinery, engineering products, because there is very weak capacity in India. Guys, secondly, India tends to be the one of the largest generic drug manufacturer into the world, but the active pharmaceutical ingredients or the base salts on which the entire pharma industry is dependent comes majorly from the China. After that, talking about the agriculture sector on which nearly 60% of economy depends, major of agricultural fertilizers are also imported from the China. So here China also have a major clout. Then, guys, with respect to the low cost goods such as lightings that are being used onto the festivals and toys, stationery items, on them also the Chinese goods have flooded the Indian market, and simply there are no major domestic producers in India which can provide such goods at such low cost. And finally, with respect to electronics, everybody knows that the South Korea and China are the major hubs, and large number of electronics come from these two countries. However, now we say that we had brought the Make in India, which is a flagship program, and will reclaim the manufacturing back to India from the China. So, guys, in this Make in India, actually we are doing nothing but we are replicating the China's economic policy of 1990s, where China presented itself as a preferred manufacturing hub and attracted large number of global value chains. But we are forgetting a fact that 2020 is different from the earlier period, because now, guys, there have been unprecedented global economic events. For example, crisis of 2008 and the recent pandemic of 2020. And now the MNCs are turning to be more local. They are preferring their home countries in order to avoid these kind of uncertainties and actions of governments. Moreover, you also know that right now the nationalism is very much a prominent among the major countries, and not only in India the vocal for local thing is going on, but into major countries such thing is going on. So the MNCs want to stay local also. Secondly, we also say that Make in India will now be successful because we will attract the companies which are relocating from China. So, guys, into that particular thing, first of all, the global supply chains, they have two consideration. First, they need to have the cheap manufacturing, and secondly, they also want to be near the global markets. Now, guys, companies are saying that they want to relocate outside China, but the China also happens to be the major market for their goods. So actually saying and relocating will be two very different things. Then, guys, let's take one more point. Into the Make in India, we had said that we have liberalized the FDI regime, and now will attract a large number of FDI into the manufacturing sector. But if we see the actual numbers, then major part of FDI has came not to the manufacturing but to the service sector. Why, guys? Because into the world, India's image is not of the manufacturing, rather is it is of the IT hub, and therefore the major FDI is coming to the service sector. Moreover, will be a mistake that to assume that only by bringing a policy such as Make in India we will attract the manufacturing. Rather, we also need a well dedicated infrastructure also, which is missing into Indian scene. And after it, when we don't have infra, we say that we have the demographic dividend, we have a labor market, so therefore by cheap labor we can attract the manufacturing. But guys, into the present scenario, labor is not evaluated onto the basis of cheapness, but rather onto the basis of productivity. And guys, because of lack of skilled labor in India, there is very low productivity of our labor sector also. And moreover, apart from this, in order to hide the deficiencies of labor sector in India, we say that the investments are not coming because the labor laws are very much old, and they favor the laborers at the cost of industries. And for that thing, the labor laws are also being amended. But guys, on to the reality, labor laws are nearly non-existent in India, and the reverse migration which is happening right now shows that because laborers don't have any social security, they are coming back. Now, friends, moving forward, apart from this, there is also one more issue with the manufacturing in India. That is, we actually have not created the domestic market, though we have a large population. But in India, the domestic market is not there, and the unemployment rate, which are alarmingly high now, shows this particular thing. And the reason for not having the domestic market is simply people don't have that much disposable income so that they can give the robust demand in India. And that particular thing comes from the low wages rate, low profitability of businesses, and all other such factors. And finally, there is one more issue with the manufacturing in India, is that India wants to project itself as the global economy, but at the same time is apprehensive to sign the agreements such as regional corporates, comprehensive economic partnerships, and therefore India's words as well as actions don't synchronize with each other. Moreover, guys, we are only talking about reducing dependency from the China, but there are other countries also on which India is dependent. For example, Japan, South Korea, and US. We are never talking about reducing the dependency from them. So guys, make in India will only be successful when the dependence from all the factors will be accounted. Moreover, guys, as we talk about self dependence, we often equate it with the anti globalization. But if we tend to manufacture everything in India, then that is not possible, and actually we will be limiting our capabilities. So guys, into all this thing, make in India has to reorient itself. Our dialogue onto the China with respect to the economic dependence also needs to be reconsidered, and well decided policy actions are needed to be taken care of. So guys, that's all about this particular issue. Now we'll move to next. So guys, here a very good initiative has been started by the central government, and it is a very good example as how the synchronization of schemes can give impact to the people. Now what has happening into the aftermath of a pandemic and a lockdown, nearly 1 crore workers have returned back to their home, and here simply they don't have any employment opportunities. And onto the parallel front, if you remember, then we had seen that various state governments are also taking up the skill mapping exercise. For example, the state of Madhya Pradesh has taken up the Rozgar Setu Abhiyan, in which it is being seen that what skill sets they are having. Now, guys, the majority of these workers have returned to 116 districts into the 6 states. Thus, for these areas, Garib Kalyan Rojgar Abhiyan has been started. Now, friends, it is not a new scheme. Rather, the existing 25 schemes will be brought together under a single umbrella, and laborers will be involved into the works such as Pradhan Mantri Garam Sadak Yojana, National Highway Development Program, railway works, community sanitation complexes. They will make the Gram Panchayat infrastructure. They will be involved into the Anganwadi and all these kind of things. Now, guys, under this particular thing, the expenditure of nearly 50,000 crore will be made, and at the end of the day, two objectives will be reached. First of all, people will be given the employment, and secondly, much needed infrastructure will also be made. Now, this particular scheme is a coordinated effort among the 12 ministries and departments such as Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Renewable Energy, Ministry of Agriculture, and all that kind of thing. So, guys, we actually don't need to see that which 12 ministries and which 25 schemes are brought together. Rather, the purpose or the way of the scheme is very much interesting, and this is the but exactly is known. We don't need more new schemes, rather, we need the proper implementation of the existing schemes. So, guys, the Garib Kalyan Rojgar Abhiyan is an excellent example in this direction. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now here, India is expected to take part into the RIC trilateral grouping meet. Now guys, in 1990s, Russia started a trilateral dialogue between Russia, India and China as a counter to the growing influence of the Western nations. And since from time to time, the countries are meeting and share their common objectives and issues. Now, earlier there was a speculation that due to the LAC crisis that is going on, India will abandon the RIC meet, but rather India is attending it, seen that there could be further de escalation onto the regional platform. Moreover, guys, Russia had also agreed that it will be brokering a peaceful negotiation between India and China, which is very much needed right now. Moreover, this year, Russia also wants to call three countries together because this is the 75th anniversary of the World War II's ending. So, therefore, it also holds the commemorative purpose. Now, guys, apart from the LAC issue, other matters will also be discussed onto the meet, such as the ongoing situation into the Afghanistan and how the regional peace can be maintained. Moreover, guys, there are also the connectivity projects whose implementation will also be discussed. For example, international north-south transport corridor, which links countries such as India, Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia with the countries of Europe. Therefore, guys, it is a strategic come economic meet that India will be attending on 23rd of June. So that's all. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, briefly we'll see that a new initiative has been started, that is iLab. And this will be a mobile lab which can conduct nearly 25 RT-PCR test and 300 ELISA test. Moreover, guys, it can test apart from the COVID other infectious diseases also, such as TB, HIV, etc. Now, this particular initiative has been supported by the Department of Biotechnology under Ministry of Science and Technology. So, guys, this particular mobile testing lab can be deployed into those regions which don't have the physical infrastructure of labs, and can also be airlifted and can be placed into the inaccessible terrains as well as locations. Moreover, by increasing the number of machines, the testing capability can further be ramped up. So, guys, when we have discussed 2 days back that the villages could be the new viral flashpoints, so there, in order to enhance the testing capabilities, such kind of automotive vehicles could be utilized. Moreover, government is also giving the technical know-how to the MSMEs to develop the PPE suits called as Navrakshak. So, guys, after giving this technical know-how, the PPE manufacturing will be rapidly be increased. So, just as for a reference, you can use this particular example. So, friends, that's all. Only for reference purpose we'll be using it. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular news item is important for our art and culture section in GS paper number 1. Now, before going into the news, first of all, there are the megalithic burials. Now, friends, megalithic burials pertains to the burying practice near the Iron Age. So, at that point of time, what people used to do, whenever a person will die, they will dig a grave, and in that grave, they will bury that person, and into the grave they will also keep certain day to day use items, for example balls and other kind of utensils, and then they will cover the grave with big stones, and these stones were called as megalithic burial sites. So mega means big, lith means stone, and megalithic burials are those which are covered with these big stones. So now when they are being excavated, so there two, three, four pots, etc., were placed. But now, into such graves which have been excavated into the Kodu Manal, nearly 10 pots and balls, large number of pots and balls have been found. So, guys, it is putting some new lights onto the concept of life after death, because these utensils were expected to be serving the purpose of the person who had died, because it was believed that he will be enjoying a new life after this also. So here large number of pots and balls have been found. Now, further, if we see the structure of the burial site, we can see that the site is divided into the three chambers where the specimens along with the dead person were to be placed. Moreover, towards the periphery, you can also see these stones which are called as cairn circles. So these stones were also set aside just to make a kind of a periphery. Now, guys, when we talk about the place, that is the Kodu Manal. So this particular place is in the Erode district in Tamil Nadu, which is situated onto the north bank of the Noyal River. And guys, in turn, the Noyal River is the tributary of the Kaveri. So, guys, that's all about this particular news. And now we'll move to the question section. Now, friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. Now, first question is with respect to Terry. So please analyze the statements and identify the correct code. Now, question number 2 is with respect to Right to Information Act. So please consider the statements and identify the correct code. Now, friends, question number 3 is with respect to the census. Please read the statements and identify the correct code. Now, guys, the question number 4 is with respect to the PM Cares Fund. So please identify the correct code here also. And now coming to the mains question. So the mains question says that the manufacturing sector needs a revival not only in terms of policy making but also in terms of infrastructure creation in changing global scenario to capitalize domestic and global market. So friends, we had discussed today. Please write it and submit your answers to review. So friends, I hope you have liked the discussion. Thank you so much.